Ahoj, tady Petra a podcast Filmová 174. Po krátké pauze, kterou jsme vám dopřáli, abyste si mohli užít festival v Karlových Varech, jsme zpět, samozřejmě s ohlédnutím za festivalem zlínským. Pokračovat budeme v rozhovorech, které připravil Gert Hermans na 63. Zlín Film Festivalu. Povídal si například s režisérem snímku Sea Sparkle a vy si můžete záznam v angličtině užít právě teď.
Ahoj! Welcome everybody to the Zlín Film Festival Bubbles, and today we have a special edition of our Festival Bubbles program. We have a guest from Belgium, so we would like to call this edition the Bubbles from Brussels, with me as your own Jean-Claude, personal Jean-Claude Van Damme, and a very bubbly guest today, Domien Huyghe, director of a film called Sea Sparkle.
Yes.
A wonderful film that has been traveling to many festivals already, and now we're very happy to present it in Zlín. And I think that Domien is the best placed person to tell us what the film is all about in, let's say, 5 sentences.
Okay, I'll try. So Sea Sparkle is about this brave young girl, Lena, who is about to have a wonderful summer, but suddenly her father passes away. He's a fisherman and he dies at sea. And while the city or the town where it all plays thinks it's the fault of her father, the accident with the boat, she thinks it's a monster that is beneath the surface of the sea. And so she goes to find this monster.
It's a monster movie.
It's not a monster movie. We have a monster, but no, it's about grief. It's about how young child is confronted with her father passing away, and how the difficulties within this family and with friends, how to cope with it. But we added this fantasy element of it with monsters and.
Yeah. And you added it in a wonderful way, I should say. But first, let's go back in time, 8 years back in time. That's the moment when you came to Zlín with a student film.
Yeah.
8 years later, you're coming back with your first feature. What memories do you still have from your first visit, and what impression makes the festival on you now?
I think it was the first festival that really was focused on children, young audiences, and it really struck me how many people are visiting to see films that really tell stories that matter for younger audiences. So when our film now got selected, it was, for me, of course, a pleasure to come back. I think it's important that these film festivals exist, and it was 8 years ago when I was struck about how big it is and how welcoming it is, and now it's even bigger, and I'm really glad to be back. Yeah.
We're very happy to hear that. The thing that struck me is that now you talk about the films, but I only remember you on the dance floor 8 years ago, but that's another story.
If there's a dance floor, then I'm probably in the middle of it, yeah.
But the sea plays an important role in your film.
Yeah.
You have a personal connection with the story, but you also have a personal connection with the sea.
Yeah, I grew up, and it's a town or a city called Ostend. It's a coast of Belgium, so I grew up there. So the sea always played an important role, and I think the sea was, for me, that's one thing that I couldn't take my mind off, because it's so enormous and you don't know what's in there. And so I was really always fascinated about, we go to the moon, but we don't know exactly what's under the surface. And one of the last images I had of my father, who passed away 20 years ago now, it's me as a young kid running away from the waves together with him. And it's also the starting image of the film, because it really is, it's so important to me. And of course, the sea is like a bit of coping with grief. You have to follow the waves, and you cannot, maneuver it. You have to really go with flow. Yeah.
But filming at the water and even under the water came with technical challenges. How big were these challenges, and how did you cope with them?
Well, the first, I remember the talks with my cinematographer. He had experience at sea, and he says, just plan one scene for one day, because you cannot plan it. It's you don't know what will happen, so just take your time. And if you want to have a second take, it will take an hour, because it's water, it's nature, you cannot control it. Like in a studio, you know everything and everything is in place, but there, and of course with cameramen, with divers, safety divers, there's a lot of technical and safety procedures are also involved with it. So the directing part becomes like something later on. First safety, first this, first that, and then I have like 30 seconds to direct. And of course, she was 11 years old. It's not that easy, but I think she and the whole crew did an amazing job.
She, that means Zahr, the actress who's playing Lena. I don't like this question, like how did you find your main actress, because usually it comes with a boring story about castings and auditions. But in this case, I always wondered, because I'm very sure if Zahr would pass me on the streets, I wouldn't recognize her. Her face, she's just a face in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And then the camera is on her, and then something magic happens. Is it the magic of the director? Is it the magic of the camera? Or is it the magic that Zahr brought to the film?
I think it's a combination. I think that we casted 200 girls, and she was the second that came into the studio. And like you said, she was this normal girl, and it was really something we wanted to have, this normal girl that is confronted with this terrible thing, and not just like a movie star kind of person. But she really understands what the story was about, even though she was 11. And we took a lot of time preparing. I think 7 months we went to go bowling, to go laser shooting, but talk about the story, about my experience. And I think very important is, if people say, if you cast a child, cast the parents. And I think it's also important that, especially when you talk about grief and difficult subjects, it's really important that the child actor is aware of all the things around those difficult subjects, and it's important that the parents know that as well, so they can support her. But I mean, as soon as the camera was rolling, she changed into Lena, and this amazing girl that is, you know, yeah, from the beginning to the end of the film, she's in every scene, and she did an amazing job.
I remember that you told me that she even helped you to define the rhythm of the film, because of her acting. Yeah. The way of her acting allowed you to play with the rhythm of the film. Yeah,
so we decided not to work with the shot list, so we don't plan anything. We just take Zahr to the set, and then we said, okay, the set is yours. You can do what you want. Just play the scene, and afterwards we will follow you. So she hasn't got restrictions like go there because the light is beautiful on your face. No, just do whatever you want, and try to look to or search how you would portray some kind of the feelings. Like in the scene that I was thinking about here, she can play a bit of sadness into her role, and she did it very angry. And I was like, okay, this is interesting, because she becomes the character, and I cannot say anything to that, because she knows her more than me in a way. So she can guide me through the story and help to make it, you know, as true and authentic as possible.
Okay, Domien, we have one last question that we ask to all our guests in the studio. You know about Zlín, city of Bata shoes, Bata empire. So we ask our guests to show the shoes that they're wearing to the camera. You can put your feet on the table and then tell a story about your shoes. Why are they here with you?
These shoes I bought when the film got premiered in Berlin. And I always wanted to have cargos, because they are well made on every aspect. And I couldn't find them in Belgium. And I was walking around and I saw these shoes. And I was like, immediately, like, you're coming home with me. And I mean,
You were not wearing them on the red carpet in Berlin?
I did for the award ceremony, because I had borrowed shoes and they were already back in Belgium. And I was like, okay, just go with shoes and claim them. So yeah, it's and now we went to on a hike here in Zlín, a small hike, and they were really comfortable and good for every terrain. So yeah.
Super. So shoes brought you all the way from Berlin to Zlín. Yes. We're very happy to have you here. Thank you for coming with Sea Sparkle to the festival, and I hope you'll have some wonderful days in Zlín. And thank you for being in our studio with us.
Thank you, Gert.
Ještě dneska nekončíme. Dalším milým Gertovým hostem byla na posledním ročníku Zlín Film Festivalu režisérka Julie Madsen, která tady představila svůj snímek It's Always Been Me.
Ahoj! Welcome to the Zlín Film Festival Bubbles, where we every day welcome one of the most bubbly, sparkling guests of the Zlín Film Festival, and we have an extra bubbly guest for you today, or extra sparkling. By the way, Bubbles was also the name of Michael Jackson's chimpanzee, so we will have this edition of our program as a tribute to that animal. And the guest of today is Julie Madsen, all the way from Denmark, here in Zlín to present a documentary that is called It's Always Been Me. And I think Julie will now explain us what the documentary is about.
Yes, thank you for having me here. The film is about two young people. There's Max and Bastian, and I filmed them from the age of 12 to 14. And Max just came out as a transgender boy. That means he was born as a girl. And Bastian is considering his gender, and he's very much in doubt if he's a girl or a boy. So the film follows them through their journey, discovering who they are. And I focused a lot on the family support and the respect that they have in their families, which even though the families are very different from each other, the way they raise their children. Yeah.
Actually, this is one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and we will talk about the family subject for sure later. But for decades, we didn't hear much about this subject. It was a little bit out of our daily reality. Nowadays, we have one film after another coming to the festival scene. In every festival, new titles are coming up about similar subjects. And still, I have the idea that there is something that makes your film stand out among all the other ones. Do you know what it could be that makes it different from all the others?
Well, I was lucky that I met two very different characters for the film. Max was very sure that he was transgender, and Bastian was very much in doubt. And from the beginning, we talked about showing the process of doubt when you have to figure out what gender you are. And then I also thought that it was very inspiring that they had so much love and support from their families. So it's not a victim story of people being faced with a lot of prejudice. It's more a story of how love will help your child blossom. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't show only the parents who are very supportive. You also show the reactions of brothers and sisters, which I haven't seen so often before. It's really interesting to see the reaction of the other family members. How were they with the decisions that were made by Max and Bastian?
Well, they were very supportive from the beginning, and actually, while editing, we were showing rough cuts to a target group that was children from 10 to 13, and they were giving us feedback on what they thought was interesting, and many of them said, how are the siblings reacting to this? So that's actually why we started putting reactions from their brothers and sisters more into the film. But from the beginning, we decided, or I wanted to make a film shown from really the perspective of the child or the teenager, and not from the parents. So that's maybe also something that makes it a bit different. That it's not the parents. We feel their view on their children, but they don't talk. They are not like the main characters. Yeah.
The fact that one of them is in doubt and that one of them is very sure about the decision also influences another topic that is in the film, and it's about the final decision to take medication, to take hormone blockers, which somehow will define their future or make the decision more permanent. How did you put that element into the movie?
Well, it was something that took a lot of energy in both families, this decision if they should have hormone treatment or not, hormone blockers. So I worked with Max and Bastian in that way that I always spoke to the parents about the subjects, and they all of them thought that it was very important to have this, the considerations around hormone treatment, and also to bring in all the scary aspects of it, which is like, what does it do to the brain to stop the development of the natural process when you become a teenager, what does it do to the brain to have hormone blockers? So for Bastian, he was very scientific about it, and he wanted to really understand the biology and everything. So he thought it was very important to have in the film. Yeah, so it was very much a cooperation, like what the parents and the children thought was important to have in it.
For obvious reasons, I have a specific interest in one other element of the film, which is the hair.
Yes.
There's a lot of hair in the film.
Yeah.
Like there's, for instance, a scene when Max says that shaving my hair was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And there's other scenes where things happen to hair, as if hair is the thing that defines the gender. How did you work with the hair?
Well, it came naturally, and because it was a way of showing a development. It's so easy with the hair, like because it defines everything. Like if you would have a wig on, it would be different. If I would be like almost like shave my hair, I would be very. It changes your view so fast. So it's an easy way to show a development in film, and then they had something going on with the hair all the time. So yeah, it became like a theme, and also it shows a way that, like that they are working. They have the same thing going on with hair, but they never meet each other. But they are like both working on their hair at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't get my thoughts on anything else now. Then maybe for the next Festival Bubbles, I'll ask the studio to arrange a wig for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good idea.
A blue one, maybe.
Max also has a lot of stress, tension, also sadness. His feelings are, or her feelings are very much...
his feelings, yes.
Yeah, Max is...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's a very outspoken character, talkative, very intense. There's things that make his choice even more difficult.
Yeah, because he struggles with other things than just it's not just about the gender for him. So he had a tough time, and he still has a tough time because it's not easy to be him. But he has this very supporting family, so it's going to turn out okay, I'm sure. And I was also like, during the casting process, I really wanted two characters that were different from each other, but really Max and Bastian were the only ones that were strong enough to be characters in a documentary, and who had families that would like, when they said, we are sure that this can be in the film, I could trust that.
Yeah, and also because you ask both your characters to reflect all the time on their own situation, which must have been very demanding.
Yeah, but what was most demanding was that they were, like, I met them once in a while. I came into their life, like I waited 2 months and then I came in all of a sudden. What was difficult was that I was all the time behind on their development, because like whenever I opened the door, they were different, like the voice dropped or they had new hair. So it was difficult to keep track on their development. And that's why also the hair thing became easier for me to show something's happening.
Julie, we have a last question for you, and today I'm extra excited that we always have this last question looking at you, because you're in Zlín. The whole empire of the glorious city of Zlín was built on one thing: shoes.
Yes.
Bata shoes. So to all our guests we ask, could you please show the camera your shoes and tell us a story about why you are wearing these shoes, or what they mean to you? What's the story behind your shoes?
So I show them here?
You put them on the table, or whatever feels comfortable.
Like this. So you see all the glitter. Well, one thing that I learned from my characters is that there's nothing to be ashamed of, and you should express yourself. And I like glittery stuff, and now that it's springtime, I just feel like expressing like my inner bubbliness. So that's why I'm wearing as much glitter as possible. Yeah, and I'm at a festival, so I should shine.
And you do get away with it super successfully. So thank you so much for wearing these shoes, for making the choice this morning that this will be the shoes that you're going to wear in our Festival Bubble studio. Thank you so much for being here, for coming with the right shoes and with the right film and with the right mindset to give us all the nice answers that you gave us. And we hope you'll have a great time in Zlín during the festival.
Thank you.
Pro tentokrát jsme u konce, ale náš podcast samozřejmě nekončí. Aby vám další epizoda neunikla, stačí nás sledovat na Spotify nebo dalších podcastových platformách. Tak zase příště. Já jsem Petra Pivková a tohle je podcast Filmová 174.